3,
Never say never.
2, 1.
Hi everybody, this is Bill Pitts, and you don't see me normally, but I'm out front here to kind of just wrap up the fact that we're here for this wrap-up episode of the Surfer Series, just to make sure you get as many aspects of this as you can, and hopefully you'll come away with feeling good about what happened. And I'd like to introduce some of the people, and if you wouldn't mind panning the camera around, Johnny. It's Mr. Don Prieto. This guy is priceless. You know, and it's one of those things where he just has all this great information. He's a great writer, and I'm just tickled pink to know him. I don't know what else to say.
Amen.
You're a treasure.
Thank you, sir.
Move it over the other guy. Okay, he's taller now, so you might have to raise it up a bit.
Yeah, I'm in the middle.
Yeah, right. This is Mr. Tom Job, and I can't say enough about him, because what he did was he was patient enough to allow us to allow me to shoot this and do the best I could to put it together. But he put out wonderful information that was very interesting and entertaining for people to hear, and you did your job. You passed the surfer's story on.
Thank you.
And that's the most beautiful part of it, and we're just so
Yeah.
happy.
He turned legend to fact.
Yes, he
Yes.
did. Absolutely. Now let's move on to the other guy now.
Our rogues gallery here.
This is Rod McCarroll, and Rod is another doer of drag racing. He was in drag racing, and his family was involved in it, and he has this wonderful collection of drag newses that we've been and he has gone through them all for us more than once, trying to find every little bit of information we could on the surfers.
Well, some of the stuff was great because it, as I said, turned legend to fact. Because fortunately, I had on January 13th, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And it was written as then.
Yes.
Not as a memory, as a maybe, as
Yes.
a, well, I hope so.
It's backup.
It was
Factual
black and
backup,
white.
and that's what was so good. And then last but not least is Bob Higginson, and Bobby is the world's greatest surfer fan, and he's the guy that got us. He kicked our butts and said, "You guys got to do this. You've been talking about it a long time. You got to do this."
That was your fault.
So it was your fault. That's true. It is. It is you. Yeah, it is. So I once come back to me now. You got to come back to me. I won't break the camera. I promise.
Alrighty then.
I have been blessed beyond measure to be able to do the Surfer Series, and I don't know what else to say, but get me to the back of the camera. Hello, Johnny.
But to add to what you just said,
Yes.
those folks who are interested in finding out more about this episode, since they might be new fans or having never been exposed to any of this and are drag racing fans, they can see what led up to this final episode on YouTube in the form of 47 15-minute segments that you should look at your leisure, hopefully in the correct order because they're all numbered. And that way you'll know that what we're talking about today is the summation of all of those episodes and the culmination of the whole Surfer story. Which, by the way, will include Surfer 2,
Yes.
which is the car that never ran, but Job and Skinner built it, and I have a picture of it here. Were you present when I shot that?
Yes, I was.
Okay, this is a picture of the new owners. This is a picture of the new owners, Richie Bandel and his brother. And when I was shooting this picture, this young lady walked by, and she was carrying that guitar.
Yeah.
And I said to her, "Would you like to be in the shot?" Because I'm sitting there on the tripod and everything. She said, "Sure." She jumped up on the tire, handed him the guitar. I pulled the trigger.
Yeah. Okay.
5 minutes later, she had the guitar in her hand, headed to work in a place called The Ball, which was a gentleman's club next door to where we were shooting this on the back side of the Red Apple Motel.
Okay.
And I didn't get her name. I didn't get a release. I got nothing.
Okay.
And we went on about our business. I published that on the cover of Drag Racing magazine.
Yes, you did. Yep.
And the Surfers were essentially disbanded at that point, and they were disposing of all their gear. So I did the story and covered the Bandels, and they went on their way. Fast forward 52 years. I got a call Sunday night.
This past Sunday?
This past Sunday. Guy said to me, are you Don Prieto? I said, yeah. He said, did you shoot a cover of the Surfer car? Yeah. Do you know the name of the girl on the cover? I said, no. I don't. And I told him the story of how it all happened. He says, well, her name is Pamela Corzine. Turns out that she was the girlfriend of Jim Morrison. He said that his friend is a Jim Morrison fan, and he was strolling through a bookstore looking for stuff about rock and roll, because he's a rock and roller. And he looked at this picture, and he said, that's Pamela. So he bought the magazine and wondered why there was no credit or anything, and told his friend about it, told this guy Scott about it. And he says, well, let me see if I can find out, talk to the photographer. So not only was she pretty in the picture, she was also destined to be famous as the wife of Jim Morrison. And we finally find out who she was after all these years.
Yeah, that's
amazing.
that's fantastic.
That's my surprise.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? I want to introduce the guy to the left here because I don't want him to be remiss in introducing him. This is John Phillips. I've known John Phillips since third grade. We played Little League baseball together on my dad's team.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. And all I know is through all the years we've been wonderful friends, and we have this bond now of loving old time drag racing and what you guys did years ago. And all I know is it's good to have you here, Johnny. And
Thank you, Billy.
And if you have anything you want to say about it,
Appreciate it.
maybe now's the time.
And what a fun thing to be your technical assistant through all of this too. Thank you.
Yeah,
for allowing me to do
absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. So, what shall we get to now? Anybody? Tommy, do you want to make any statement at this point about all this?
Do we want to get into just our kind of summary of all the 40, however many?
Sure. 46 at this point.
Yeah.
This will be 47.
47.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, I would just like to thank everybody who participated. And I'd like to thank Bill Pitts, who's been trying to make this happen since 1990, and this is 2018.
Yeah.
And
It's
I-
only 28 years.
and I
By
can't-
my age, that's a drop
That's
in the bucket.
yeah, it's no big deal. And, every time there was another old drag racer died, I thought, God, Bill's right, we gotta do something. And
Yeah.
then I guess Bob kind of lit this whole thing off, but we were heading towards, we gotta either do this or else
Yes.
it'll be like her name, it'll just
Yeah.
won't.
Yes.
Just go away.
Right. Correct.
Anyway, so it was great fun doing it, and I really like the aspect that we for the most part were able to verify what the truth was through both Rod's Drag News, because
Right.
he can't rewrite history. He
Right.
opens the thing, and this is what
There it
says.
is. That's right.
And there was weekly coverage of the events. Drag News came out every week.
Yes.
And so, some things didn't get covered, or that event didn't get covered, or whatever. But for the most part, we established that. And then we had Don
Yes.
Prieto, who has all that, but it's inside of his head.
Trapdoor mind. Yeah.
To bounce so he's looking at all this, wait a minute. A couple times he went, hey, wait a minute. Time out.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah.
We'd have to-
But Don would pull these dates out of his head, out of thin air, in real time.
Yes.
And then it would take us sometimes a week or 2 weeks to research it.
Yep.
And there's the answer, just like Don told us.
Yes. Yes.
That was
Anyway,
amazing.
so we had a check and a recheck on the whole thing, or vice versa. I don't know
Yeah.
which way it went. On everything. So for the most part, it is the truth. as
Warts
best
and
we can
all.
remember. And
Yeah, or it's-
I wanted to make sure we didn't get caught up in this rewriting history and, oh, you won't believe how wonderful we were and, you know, all of that.
Yeah,
And just warts and all, here's what happened.
yes.
And that was really good. And another thing that was really fun for me was the opportunity to talk about a lot of other good
Right.
drag racers that no one's gonna make 46 videos about.
Right,
And they're not around to participate, so you couldn't do it if you wanted,
yeah.
unless you want to do it kind of secondhand.
To
Anyway,
bring their names up is, in 2018 and beyond, is wonderful.
and they were wonderful, wonderful people.
Yeah.
And characters and just
Yeah.
wonderful folks.
Characters you couldn't make up.
No, you
I mean, they
couldn't.
were
Oh,
so
no.
extraordinary and all in their each in their own way.
Right.
That's one of my two favorite things about this whole process. The first thing is there's been so much written about the surfers, and for a fan, so much of it was legend and hearsay or whatever, and what did they do? And when this opportunity came along for Tom to go to A to Z
Yeah.
about what his team did, was a dream come true for me, and I think for many others. And the second thing was, to piggyback on what you're saying, was all the characters that you and Don brought out in such great, and that was a great part of it. The Tony Sorellos of the world, the Donovans, you know, the
Madden.
Mickey Thompsons, all the great names that were just the Dooner, you know, and that I just found fabulously entertaining, but historical. So taken as a whole, if somebody wants to know what was going on in that era, because of the time that Don and Tom took to bring out all these characters, just as much, if not more, than their own story, was everything to me. It was fabulous.
Yep.
Well, we're here because of Tom's life in drag racing, but we're here because of all those other characters,
You betcha.
because otherwise he's just a guy with a, no, he doesn't even have a race car. There's all those other guys don't exist. So it's the whole world of it is the reason we're here, but we're putting some of it to ink to try to straighten out some of the misconceptions, but it's wonderful to talk about all those other guys that were all part of that week in and week out.
And not only guys, I mean, there was a lot of, you know, there was some women involved. I mean, there was a lot of wonderful people that staffed the drag strips.
Oh yeah,
Right.
all the behind the scenes stuff.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Popcorn Pam.
Yeah,
So-
Peggy Art.
To piggyback on what Don said about going back and watching the 47 episodes and everything, I would urge people to do that, because it's that whole era and it's all there, folks. And also thanks to Billy's amazing editing of the pictures, in which I can't even imagine the hour he put into it. So every character that Tom and Don would mention, be it a Tony Sorello, there would be beautiful pictures in this series. So yes, it is the story of the surfers, but it's also the stories of the drag racing right in the middle of the golden age, we call it, in the mid-60s.
Yep.
And you're going to get the whole spectrum of that, as well as an amazing story of one of the legendary teams. So that's what it was to me. And
Yep.
I would think it's really all about drag racing, and then this is just one little piece of the drag racing.
thanks
Yeah.
to you and how you told the story, Tom.
Yeah.
So thank
No,
you.
but that's all we were. I mean, and that's I want to make sure that people understood how we fit into it. We weren't it. We were just a little piece.
One thread of the tapestry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
grateful to be there.
Yes.
And how wide open it was. I mean, anybody was welcome. They didn't care what you were, color, race,
No.
this, that, nothing. Just come on in, have a good
And
time.
some stories.